Hey y'all, real quick on that whole speech thing, I want to tell you 7 strong ways to start a talk, a speech. 7 strong starts, okay? And I wrote them down to make sure that I don't forget them, all right? So if you see me look down, it's because I'm looking at my notes, all right? The first thing that I want to tell you to do is, well, you don't have to do any of these, frankly, all right? You don't have to do any of these, but they are ideas, suggestions for a strong start to any talk, okay? Number 1, simply ask a question. It can be rhetorical or it can be a literal question, an actual survey question of your audience. You can ask them to participate. You can start by saying, by show of hands, how many of you, and ask whatever your question is. That is a strong start to a speech. There are a lot of people who tell you don't do that. Psh, they don't know what they're talking about. Do it. You can, if that's good for that type of talk. Okay? That's one good way to start a speech strong. Another thing that I've used many times is this. I come out when I'm feeling real artsy and I'll say, imagine, right? You've heard it with the guy who does the movies and he does the voiceover, in a world, right? That guy, right? What he's doing is he's creating imagery in your head. You can do that with any audience, by coming out and saying, imagine, and then you paint a picture for them with words. Beautiful way to start. It's a very strong way to start a talk. Third, I was born, and give them a little bit of biology. I'm pretty sure I meant biography. I'm pretty sure that's what I meant there. But give them a little bit of biography. Talk a little bit about you. And people are interested in stories, and people are interested in you since you're the one standing before them speaking. Don't give them your entire autobiography. Don't give them all of your entire memoirs. Nobody wants to hear all that. No one wants to hear. You don't even want to hear all that. But give them something to lean forward on. They want to hear from you. So tell them, I was born. And you can go Run DMC on them if you want. I was born son of Byford, brother of Al. Yeah, you got to be old to know that. Look it up. YouTube it. Fourth way, that's a good strong start that I use a lot, and I love it when I'm feeling real poetic, is I start with onomatopoeia. That's just a part of speech, a type of speech that is, it's a word that makes a sound. So like I might say boom, or crash, or bang, right? If you can think of any one of those terms, that's a strong, it's going to pique, P-I-Q-U-E, people's interest in whatever it is that has to follow, because you must explain. You can't just tell people bang without an explanation. You have to explain why you said bang, but it also gets their attention. So start with onomatopoeia. That's a good way to begin a talk. Another way, the next 2 actually work real well. They're similar, but they're different, so I kept them separate. One thing is to explain. Begin with an explanation. Because usually people know what you're talking about. They've seen it in the program, or they came specifically to hear from you talk about a topic, in particular. So you can just say the explanation. Just jump right in, dive in. Kind of like I do with these. I just dive in. A lot of YouTubers, they give you all this explanation and fluff and all that kind of stuff. And some people like that. But I find that in my own experience, I prefer people just give me the main points and let me go on about my business. So I try to just give you the main points and let you go on about your business. Okay? And jumping into the explanation, it's a satisfier. Right? So if, for example, you're talking about what shoes men should wear in the year 2023. Because feet will hurt a lot less and fashion will be at an all-time high, the shoes men should wear most in 2023 are, see how I did that? You start with the explanation. That's a strong way to start a talk. The next one is with statistics, all right? 4 out of 5 Americans think that blah, blah, blah. By the year 2030, 90% of America will be blah, 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 right? So start with a stat. That's a strong way to start. And finally, one of my favorite ways to start a speech is with a verb. Any verb. You might start your talk like this: run. Not right now, but run when you get a chance. And not everybody will be able to do it, but run, right? And then you unpack that verb as you go. Or you might say, walk. Walking is one of the healthiest exercises the human can do. Everybody doesn't have access to a pool, and swimming is probably ideal for everyone, but you both have to have access to a pool or some place where you can swim, and you also have to know kind of how to swim. There's a whole safety issue, but walking, everybody can walk, except for those people who can't walk. And for those of you who can't walk, and then you provide them with whatever other things you were going to say. Or another verb might be jump. How high? Don't come down till I tell you. A verb, what it does is it sort of strikes people, but it perks them up, makes them pay attention. Now, when you start with a verb, be careful. Make sure that you have something strong to follow it up with. Because if you just start with a verb and you follow up with foolishness, you're going to look silly. So it's one of my favorite because used properly, it's one of the most effective. And because when used improperly, it's hilarious. People trying to be good speakers and they end up being poor speakers trying to use the techniques of great speakers. That's a funny thing. It's like a comedian bombing. That's funny. As a comedian who has bombed, there's some empathy there, there's some sympathy there, but it's also one of the funniest things you can see, Jack. So these are 7 of the things that I think you can use, the mechanisms that you can use to start a speech really strong. Hey, listen, this stuff is free. I don't ask you for anything but to, click like, subscribe, share, and benefit from it. All right? I'll talk to y'all later.